A terrifying evening on a Florida highway turned rush hour traffic into a disaster scene in a matter of seconds. Just before sunset on Monday, drivers on I-95 near Merritt Island looked ahead and saw something no motorist expects: a small aircraft dropping out of the sky, lining up with the southbound lanes as if the highway itself were a runway. According to investigators, the emergency began around 5:45 p.m. when a Beechcraft 55 experienced a sudden technical failure in midair. Both engines reportedly lost power without warning, stripping the 27-year-old pilot of his options. At that altitude, there was no time to hunt for an airport and no open field large enough to guarantee a safe landing. With seconds to decide, he aimed the powerless aircraft toward the interstate below, hoping he could ride it down and thread it between the cars. But the roadway was packed with commuters. Witnesses say the Beechcraft came in low over the traffic and slammed down onto the southbound lanes. As it touched the asphalt, the aircraft clipped a 2023 Toyota Camry driven by a 57-year-old woman. The impact spun the car and yanked the plane to a violent halt, sending parts of the wing and glass skittering across the highway. Drivers in nearby lanes hit their brakes, swerved onto the shoulder, and abandoned their vehicles as the scene filled with dust, smoke, and the fear that the aircraft might catch fire. Incredibly, the pilot and his 27-year-old passenger managed to climb out of the wreckage without a scratch. The Camry driver was less fortunate, but still lucky, suffering minor injuries that paramedics described as non-life-threatening. She was rushed to a nearby hospital where doctors expect her to make a full recovery. For most of the people stuck in traffic, the worst injuries were shock and the realization of how narrowly they had avoided catastrophe. Within minutes of the crash, Florida Highway Patrol troopers, firefighters, and rescue crews descended on the 201-mile marker stretch of I-95. Authorities shut down every southbound lane, turning the interstate into a sealed-off investigation site. Crews worked under flashing lights for hours, documenting skid marks, photographing the plane's resting position, and checking for any fuel leaks that could spark a blaze. Tow trucks and heavy equipment were brought in to remove both the mangled car and the crippled aircraft from the roadway. What began as an evening commute turned into an all-night closure. The highway did not fully reopen until around 9 a.m. Tuesday, snarling traffic for miles and forcing thousands of drivers onto side roads. Remarkably, this was not the only aviation emergency in Florida that day. Roughly 46 miles from Orlando, near DeLand, another small aircraft, a Cessna 172, was forced to make an emergency landing. Details from that incident are still emerging, but officials say 2 people on board were injured. Both were transported for treatment and are listed in stable condition, adding yet another layer of concern for aviation safety across the state. 2 emergency landings, 2 small planes, 1 state, all within a single day. For investigators, the question now is whether these are unrelated strokes of bad luck or signs of deeper issues, from maintenance problems to pilot error or weather conditions. Teams from state authorities and federal aviation agencies are examining the wreckage, listening to cockpit communications, and reviewing maintenance logs to piece together what went wrong. For the drivers who watched a plane fall toward them on I-95, the investigation cannot change what they saw, but it may help ensure that future airborne emergencies never again end so close to ground-level traffic.